Good afternoon, reception. For today's story time, I have chosen to read The Elephant's Child, which is another story written by Miles Kelly, but this one was illustrated by Laura Watson. Remember, illustrated means they drew the pictures. Okay, so are you sitting comfortably? Then I think we are ready to begin. In the high and far off times, the elephant had no trunk, only a big bungly nose as big as a boot. He could wriggle it from side to side, but he couldn't pick anything up with it. But there was one elephant's child who was full of insatiable curiosity. That means he asked ever so many questions. Look at their noses. How funny. He asked his tall drunk uncle, the giraffe, what made his skin spotty, and his uncle cuffed him with his hard hoof. And he asked his hairy uncle, the baboon, why melons tasted just so, and his uncle pinched him with his hairy paw. And he asked his broad aunt, the hippo, why her eyes were red, and his aunt splashed him with her broad hoof. But still he was full of insatiable curiosity. One day the elephant's child asked, what does the crocodile have for dinner? But all his family just said, hush! So the elephant's child went to the kola bird and asked, what does the crocodile have for dinner? Go to the banks of the great grey green greasy Limpopo River and find out, said the bird. So the next morning the insatiable elephant's child set off to find the great grey green greasy Limpopo River. Goodbye, he said. Now this insatiable elephant's child had never seen a crocodile and did not know what one was like. The first creature that he found was a bi-coloured python rock snake curled around a rock. Bi means two, so that means he's got two colours if he's bi-coloured. Excuse me, said the elephant's child, but have you seen such a thing as a crocodile around here? And could you tell me what he has for dinner? But instead of answering, the snake gave the elephant's child a sharp slap with his scalesome, flailsome tail. Further on, the elephant's child trod on what looked like a log at the edge of the Limpopo River. But it was really the crocodile! Excuse me, said the elephant's child, have you seen such a thing as a crocodile round here? The crocodile said, I am the crocodile. Then will you tell me what you have for dinner? Gasped the elephant's child. Come close and I'll whisper, said the crocodile. The elephant's child put his ear to the crocodile's musky-tusky mouth. And at once the crocodile caught the elephant's child by his little nose. Today, he said, I will begin with elephant's child. Let go! The elephant's child said, speaking through his nose. You're hurting me! Then the bi-coloured python rock snake shouted, pull, or you will be in the river before you can say Jack Robinson. Oh dear. So the elephant's child sat back on his little haunches and pulled and pulled and pulled, and his nose began to stretch. Then the snake came and knotted himself in a double-clove hitch around the elephant child's hind legs. They both pulled together, and at last the crocodile let go of the elephant's child's nose with a plop that you could hear for miles around. The elephant's child wrapped his poor nose in banana leaves and hung it in the river. What are you doing that for? Asked the snake. My nose is all out of shape, said the elephant's child, and I'm hoping it will shrink. And then a fly landed on the elephant's child's shoulder. He lifted up his long nose and smacked it away. Aha, said the snake. You couldn't have done that with a mere smear nose. Oh, there's the fly. In the afternoon, the snake asked, "Oh, isn't the sun hot?" "Yes," said the elephant's child. He slipped up from mud from the riverbank and splashed it on his head. It made a cool mud cap all trickly behind his ears. "Aha!" said the snake again. "You couldn't have done that with a mere smear nose." "You're right," said the elephant's child. "And now I think I'll go home to all my dear family." So the elephant's child went home, frisking and whisking his new nose, which we now call a trunk. When he wanted fruit to eat, he pulled it down from the tree. When flies bit him, he broke off the branch of a tree and used it as a swat. When he felt lonely, he sang loudly to himself down his trunk. When he reached home, the elephant's child uncurled his trunk and said, "How do you do?" "What have you done to your nose?" asked his tall Uncle Giraffe. "It looks very ugly," sniffed his broad aunt the hippo. "Indeed," said his hairy uncle the baboon. "But it's useful," said the elephant's child. He picked up his hairy uncle the baboon and dropped him into a thorn bush. Then he trumpeted in the ear of his tall uncle the giraffe and blew bubbles at his broad aunt the hippo. The new nose was so useful that all the elephants hurried to the banks of Limpopo River to borrow new noses from the crocodile. And ever since then, all the elephants you will ever see, and all those you won't, have noses precisely like the trunk of the satiable elephant's child. The end. Oh, what a lovely story. I really enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all soon. Adios.